Hello and welcome along to WD18, the Watford fan channel with me, Jacob Culshaw, Sam Ucko and Charlie Zazzera for an international break pod. No Watfords, no football, no 3pms. Yeah, life isn't the same really without Watford Football Club. So we thought we'd do a little bit of a video to keep everyone happy, hopefully, if you enjoy the video. And we've got Sam, Charlie and myself to discuss 5 things that we've learned about Watford so far this season in the opening few games in the Championship and obviously a couple of Carabao Cup fixtures squeeze in between as well. As always, if you do go on to enjoy the stream and the podcast, please do leave a like on the video, subscribe to WD18, comment down below your thoughts as usual too. But also could I ask for a quick favour and a bit of housekeeping. If you are listening on audio and if you're watching this on YouTube, if you wouldn't mind heading over to our Spotify and our iTunes, we're uploading all these episodes as pods as well. And we've obviously got a very loyal, engaged, amazing audience here on YouTube, and we're trying to build it a little bit more outside on Spotify, iTunes, and all the audio platforms. So if you could leave us a review, it can be 1-star, it can be 5-star. It'd be massively appreciated. Sam, how have you filled your weekends without Watford Football Club? That's my question.
Yeah, it's do you know what I said just before we came on? It was I actually feel like it was quite nice to have a weekend off Watford. Just a nice weekend, just to chill, really. And it's got me excited again for the Coventry game next week. I think on the pitch as well. I think the international break came at a good time after last week's defeat against Sheffield United. But yeah, I felt like I needed the international break myself and feeling recharged and I'm ready to go again next week. I sound like I'm about to go and play it right back on the Vicarage Road pitch. But yeah, it's just sitting in the stands can be exhausting.
Do you know what can be exhausting as well, Charlie, is back-to-back weddings. Now, Charlie's been best man if you listen to our Miladovic podcast. Charlie's a little bit of a different role this time. Just step back, let everyone else play. What was the role this time, Charlie?
Oh, very much in the stands, enjoying the atmosphere. Yeah, really good one. A couple of Hornets in attendance, so it was great to meet them. The bride and her family are kind of Watford fans, so I got them a Watford shirt as a gift. But yeah, really, really good fun. But I'm looking forward to get back to reality now. And I'm looking forward to my first trip to the Vic this season coming up on Saturday.
Can you believe it? I know Charlie's missed this really good start because of other commitments, obviously. But hopefully come Coventry next weekend at home at Vicarage Road, we can give Charlie a win. And also, if you do see Sam or Charlie and myself, make sure to say hello. Right, 5 things we've learned about Watford so far this season. As I said at the top of the show, these are things that myself, Sam and Charlie have picked out as things that both positive and negative we've learned about Tom Cleverley's Watford in these opening few fixtures in the Championship season and the Carabao Cup, as we said. Sam, let's, before we do that, touch on Miladovic. I did just tee up the podcast that we did with Charlie and we gave our reaction about him leaving to Bromby on loan. And now it's a bit of time since that's happened. It all kind of happened very, very quickly. But just your thoughts on that one, Sam, because we didn't get your hot takes on Watford on that episode.
Yeah, I heard that Charlie on the podcast was when you guys were going through what you thought the window would be out of 10. Charlie predicted that I'd say a 4 or a 5. I didn't think I was that pessimistic, to be honest with you. I probably would have said a 7, but I feel like with the Rivic news for me, it's gone down to more of a 6.5. I've sort of been, almost just flipping between my views with this one. To be honest with you, it's almost like one day I feel like it makes sense and it's a good move. But on the other hand, I feel like it leaves us incredibly light. I think it's one of those moves where time will ultimately tell, because I think this is all ultimately dependent on, can Jebison hit the ground running? Can Bayo have an impact? Can we rely on Doumbia to come in his first full season in English football? And ultimately, can the move be beneficial for Miladovic as well? I think the most positive thing about the move for me is that it's quite clearly a Tom Cleverley decision, that Cleverley doesn't rate him and Cleverley feels that it would be better for him to go out on loan as a development rather than an exit plan, as he said. But yeah, real mixed feelings on it. I'm sure he'll do slightly, he might do even better out in Denmark again. I think he is. Although I did see a piece from Andrew French saying their fans are quite mixed on his move out there. So yeah, best of luck to Mileta, and I think it's a move that ultimately time will tell.
Yeah, as Ian says in the comment section, apparently the Bromby fans aren't over the moon with him, and he may be third in their pecking order. Maybe he'll be back at some point. Watford do have a recall option as well.
Yeah, this is my call now. He's not lasting the season on loan. I think we'll call him back at some point. I do think one injury and he's going to have to come back because, particularly if Jebison gets injured, can we rely on it just being Bayo and Doumbia? Probably not.
I don't know, but Sam, are you more confident about this happening than Carlos Corberán to Liverpool?
Someone else actually said this to me recently, that he thought Corberán would have been a good fit for Liverpool, and I was almost just thinking, you all laughed at me. We have to say you're not laughing now, but I'd probably say I'm more confident on Rajvic coming back at some point this
season. Charlie, would you be surprised to see Rajvic back in a Watford shirt under Tom Cleverley this season?
I would not be surprised. It made me thinking when Sam was there, he's been flip-flopping about opinions each day. How long have you been thinking about it? It's still been thoughts every time you wake up.
It's been sleepless nights, Charlie. I said I needed to use national break. It's because I haven't slept since the Rajvic news, to be honest with you.
Yeah, he could be back, but like Sam said, and I enjoyed Sam's cliche as well, only time will tell. I think there could be a couple of other cliches going to get dropped. But yeah, best of luck to him out there. Hopefully he scores some goals and kind of makes us want him to come back, but we shall see.
What was our lads' thoughts on getting Man City away in the Carabao Cup, but also it being scheduled in, was it 2 games in 3 days for City? Will we get a better chance to beat them, Sam, at the Etihad?
I did have a think about it, and I thought, do you know what? Guardiola could rotate quite heavily for this, and I realised him heavily rotating will probably still include the likes of Gundogan. Phil Foden hasn't featured heavily yet this season, so it could be a run out for him. Yeah, it's still an incredibly difficult task, but I'll be there. Charlie Bush will be there. Charlie Zazzera, you'll be there as well. So, yeah, should be a good night out in Manchester. And hopefully we can, we'll be on the beers if it's under 5.
So it's Tuesday, the 24th of September, 7:45 kickoff. Bernardo Silva wasn't happy. Charlie, you happy with the... I'm delighted that City have 2 games in 3 days. I think, there's nothing wrong with that at all, in my opinion. Do you see where he's coming from?
Who, Bernardo? He can get stuffed. I'm more worried about that draw, the way it's seeded and how the majority of those teams playing in Europe get a home draw. But that could be another podcast. We don't want to get into a rant there. And yeah, like you said, I was trying to think, okay, who's the B team? John Stones will really come in to get some minutes. Our old friend Nathan Ake. Yeah, anything under 3, and I think it'll be good. But look, it'll be a really good test for Cleverley. I'm sure he'll learn a lot, and it's a good test for our boys going up against some of those players. Let's just hope it's not a mauling. But yeah, I think they've got Newcastle the weekend after as well away. So you know what their priorities are going to be. Problem is their B-C team could probably play in the Premier League quite easy. So tough one. Sure, we're not going to be going to Wembley, but. At least it's a local one for me, eh?
I know it's early and we'll do a bigger preview podcast before the City game, but question for you, Jacob. Do you think that we'll be able to see the rotations that Cleverley's done in the other games, or do you think he'll go full strength? So, for example, could you see Jonathan Bond still playing in goal? Do you think Quadro Bar will get a start at the Etihad? I'm just interested to see how much he'll change things around because, for example, as good as James Morris has been, the thought of him potentially coming up against Haaland slightly worries me.
Yeah, it's a great question, Sam. Really good question, because I think it'll be the balancing act, as you say, of rotating it, but also making sure that we give ourselves the best opportunity of being in the game. I think that's the way Clevy's going to look at it, because I think we all agree we're not going to win the Carabao Cup, probably. Having said that, if we beat City, then we've got a decent chance. Look, I think there'll probably be... I remember Jonathan Bond actually playing away at City in the FA Cup a long time ago, so that'd be quite nice. Having said that, I think he'll tweak it, Sam, but probably not as many changes as he did for the first 2. I think the luxury is when you're at home, the opposition we were playing, it made sense for Watford to rotate in the way they did. Plymouth were struggling at the time. Obviously, MK Dons are League 2. You expect us to win, I think, both of those. And obviously with City, we don't. So I think he'll probably tweak it. But obviously a great opportunity for someone like, I don't know, like a Festi Ebisele to come in and, make a really good impact. And he's a player that you can bring in who's a quality option. So look, there we go. And Laura did mention one thing we've learned already this season is that Heart Mind are quids in on our initiative for £1 for every goal Watford score. We haven't had one this month, obviously, but if you want to get involved this season and want to contribute for what happened in August, the links are in the description below. And as always, we are partnered with Heart's Mind for this one. Ben says he'd play the reserves and focus on the league. And we'll see how we get on. 6 games into the season, Sam. 4 league, 2 cup. And we're going to do 5 things that we've learned about Watford so far this season. So, Sam, kick us off with number one, the first thing you've learned about Watford so far this season.
Yeah, it's an opinion that I had when we did our season preview and our predictions. It's a man who I've backed since he's come into Watford, because I always thought that following that Millwall game, I thought it was a bit of an unfair one to throw him into the deep end. But I think Matty Pollock is a real key player for Watford now. That's something I've learned in the first 5 games this season. I think it's fair to say that we're going to see a lot of rotation amongst the back three this season. We know Angelo Albon is still to come in. James Morris has done really, really well at left centre-back, but I think he'll probably be rotated out at some point. Ciaralta, Ryan Porteous, they're all options there. But for me, the mainstay in that back three has to be Matty Pollock. He seems to, I think I saw a stat that he's won something like the most aerial duels in Europe. He's an absolute warrior. We know about the headband as well, which became pretty iconic in the first part of the season. And yeah, I think he's a threat in both boxes for Watford. He's becoming a real leader. And yeah, for me, he's one of Watford's most important players at the moment.
Charlie, would you agree about Matty Pollock's performances so far this season? He's been a mainstay at the back, arguably our player of the month for August as well.
Yeah, I think he's been outstanding. And I was listening to, I know the fans chat, they spoke to him, and there's some really nice quotes there about biding his time and kind of having that mentality and resilience to sticking there. I kind of wanted to highlight this stat, which I saw from him, kind of showing his forward passes. He's attempted more forward passes than anyone in the Championship. And it's a side to its game where maybe last season we were kind of thinking, oh, he might not be the best of his feet. But he's even said in the guys' fans chat, kind of he fancies himself to be good on the ball. And we saw for that assist for Bayo. And he's kind of getting into this really interesting kind of, I don't want to say Kevin De Bruyne, but this kind of quarterback space. And he's kind of putting some really nice balls in. We saw against Sheffield United, he could have got another assist for Bayo, where he put that ball through and Bayo kind of couldn't finish it. But it just shows he's kind of having he's kind of a little secret weapon of ours. I think he's been outstanding. And I think if you look at his age and his profile, that stat that what I brought up is from a guy who works at Opta, Nathan Evans. He's well worth a follow. And I know he's done an article on Matty being one of the most underrated defenders in the Championship, but it's one of those. And I think Sam is right to mention it. He did predict a big season for him, but if you look at his profile, his age, he could go on to be a key player for Watford, become captain, and even other clubs could be looking at him because he's got some really good attributes. And I think his mentality is one of his biggest strengths. And yeah, I think he's been outstanding so far this season.
Yeah, huge shout out to Matthew Evans in the comment section. Said he used to play midfield, Matty Pollock. He's clearly got an eye for a pass. I saw a stat, I believe it was from Lou Orns, who said he's created 5 opportunities through his passing alone already this season. It's the one thing that surprised me about Matty Pollock. There was no doubt about his defensive ability. We saw it at Cheltenham. That's the reason Watford brought him in from Grimsby. But I think for me, it's his technique on the ball. I think the ball away at Sheffield United last week, he played it through to Bayo. Bayo peeled off his man. It's a lovely ball from Matty Pollock. And a lot of people talked about the missed opportunity from Bayo, but that ball from Pollock made it happen, and it split Sheffield United's defence in one, really. But he's a great passer of the ball, and something that's caught me off guard this season, Sam. Was there anything else you wanted to add on Pollock and what you've been impressed by, or anything maybe he needs to add to his game on that side of things?
No, I just think the back three really allows us to see the strongest elements to his game. I think he'd also admit that he's not the quickest player as well. And I think almost having that protection within the back three is really, really, it's really allowing him to flourish. And yeah, he seems to be a player that Tom Cleverley trusts. I think they would have played together when Pollock just came into the club, I believe. So yeah, hopefully onwards and upwards for Matty. I think with him now, it's just a case of, all right, he's had a great August. Now can he kick on and have a really good next few months as well?
His contract runs out, Charlie, in 2026. So we've got 2 years left of Matty. Would you be looking to get him? Is it too early to say get him an extension, as we did with someone like Ryan Andrews, where he had a good spell and we locked him down for a 5-year?
Yeah, I do think, I think it's right that we're praising him, but football can change really quickly. So like Sam said, let's hope he has a really good September and kicks on and does kind of, win that player of the season or young player of the season. And then, he would have earned that contract. So like I said, the way he talks about Watford is really, really pleasing, like his desire to play for the club, considering he's a northern man. Another link there, obviously, his dad used to play for Man City as well, but he talked about kind of his dad, the influence he's had on him, and he's had some tough times. He's had some really good loan spells, but now it's kind of all coming together. And yeah, I think it's great that Tom's given him a chance and he's really performing well.
Yeah, and also if you follow Matty on socials as well, a huge congratulations, because he revealed this week that he's expecting his first child as well. So huge congrats to Matty, winning on and off the pitch at the moment.
Sam, odds on you being the name of the baby?
Oh, I'd like to hope so. At some point in the season, I want to be his matchday mascot and walk out holding hands with him onto the pitch at the deck.
I'd love Matty Pollock to be my dad. I reckon he'd be great. Anyway, there we go.
A day with Matty Pollock pretending to be a dad. We'll get that going at some point.
Seriously, if Matty's watching, I think he watched the channel, doesn't he, Sam?
Yeah.
If he's watching Matty, when the little one comes along, day in the life of Matty Pollock as a dad, that'll be top tier content. Anyway, we move on. We've done point number 1, what we've learned about Watford this season. Sam's gone with Matty Pollock becoming a key player for Watford. Now, Charlie, we move on. And I know in the last podcast we mentioned how you didn't have as much analysis prepared, but I feel like this is your game now, mate. This is your game. Talk to me. Point number 2, what you've learned this season.
Yeah, strap yourself in, everyone. I'm just gonna talk about kind of Cleverley's system, playing style, especially kind of the shape, strengths and weaknesses. Maybe a team that he's been inspired from as well. So just wanted to talk about his 3-4-2. This is kind of how we're set up when we're in possession, but when we're out of possession, it does move more to a 5-3-2 with Kayembe dropping deep and Bio and Chatford-Atsy kind of sitting in a bit more. I'll kind of show as well what it looks on the split screens. So you can see in possession here.
It's giving M&F, isn't it, Sam?
I love it. The blue in the background now as well is fully giving Monday Night Football as well.
Stop it right there.
We need to get Charlie on the massive iPads as well at some point.
Who would you be, Sam? Would you be Carragher or Neville?
Carragher or Neville? Wow. Do you know what? I reckon I'd be more Carra, to be honest with you. But I feel like it's a weird one because I feel like Carragher's analysis is better. So I feel like Charlie would be more Carragher, to be honest with you. And I might be more Neville. I feel like sometimes my emotions dictate my tactical points of view. Sorry, Charlie, really interrupted there, mate. Go on.
No, I'm just trying to get to grips with this. But like I said, just showing the shape there, kind of in possession. Laruzzi or the left back's got to be out here. And then you've got the 2, and then you've got Bio. So the 3-4-2-1. Let me get rid of that. And then out of possession here, you can see the 5 along the back. Kayembe sits in, and then interesting that Georgie and Bio are kind of the two up top. One thing that really interested me, I was reading one of Andrew French's pieces about Jefferson actually, and it was this quote which kind of really intrigued me. Let's see if I can make it a bit bigger. I don't want to compare her to a top team like Leverkusen just yet. But if you look at them, you'll see their wing backs and their number 10s are really productive players when it comes to goal scoring. So that was kind of in reference to Jefferson's goal scoring record. And it made me kind of think it's something that when I was trying to think of Cleversport or a similar team that plays like that, I was trying to think, and I didn't want to say Leverkusen. Obviously, they had a stunning season, but it's something that I definitely think kind of Cleverley's looking at. And I'll get some comparisons in a bit. But what Sam, what's your initial feeling of kind of the way we're playing at the moment?
Yeah, I think there are some slight concerns that I have, particularly I think against Derby, we struggled to break down that low block a little bit. But one thing that I've been really impressed with, and something that the three at the back allows us to do, firstly, like I mentioned before, I think it brings out the best of our centre backs. I think any combination with our centre backs would struggle with just a back 2 now within a back 4. So I think the back 3 is the way forward. But something we've made quite a big deal of on the channel so far is sustaining attacks. And I feel like having that back 3 really allows us to do so, because what we've seen is Matty Pollock or James Morris have been able to step up quite high up the pitch, which have allowed Sissoko, Tondeli Bashiru to break into the box and score goals in Sissoko's case, create chances in Tondeli Bashiru's case. So, yeah, I've been really impressed with the way that it's allowed us to sustain pressure, and I feel like it's a formation that's quite adaptable as well. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how we continue with it throughout the season.
Yeah, it was interesting. When I look back at our previous games, when Clevs first came in, we played a 4-2-3-1 against Birmingham. That was kind of more defensive to get the job done. And it wasn't till the Ipswich game where he moved to this shape. And I think he just saw how to kind of utilise Georgie Chatfordazzi. And for me, the positives, and it was highlighted yesterday for the England game, it's maximising your best players in their best positions to get the most out of the team. And I think you could go through all of the Watford team, and I think it just suits all of us down to the ground. I think Georgie's our best player. Giving him licence to roam around the pitch really is effective. Having Tom Delly in there, I think I want to talk about him and compare him to an ex-Premier League player in a bit. Our wing-backs, who I want to talk about, Ryan Andrews, Laruzzi, really attacking. Our centre-halves, I think Siralta needs that protection instead of a 2. So they're kind of positives. For me, the weaknesses are kind of transitions, centre-backs being exposed, being 1v1. But Jacob, what have you made of it? Do you think there's any other strengths or weaknesses to this 3-4-2-1 system?
I think I said it on a previous pod, but I think it does highlight the importance of the wing-backs in this system. And I'm sure you're going to get onto it in a moment, Charlie. But I do feel like if the wing-backs are efficient and they're effective, Watford more often than not will do well this season. I think if the wing-backs have an off day, we're going to struggle to play through the thirds. I think a lot of our attacks are coming from out wide. We're getting a lot more crosses into the box than I think we did last season, particularly. Defensively, I feel like we're more solid. I do feel like, and what we're interesting, and I'm sure we'll come on to it in terms of the back three, I do feel, as Sam said, we are a little bit light in terms of pace, and I do feel like teams could probably get at us in behind, because we don't play that deep, do we? We play quite a high line. And when you think about Ogbonna coming into the mix, you think about Caben, who's a really quick guy from what I read, he could be someone that's quite important to this system on the left-hand side. Whereas at the minute, you've got Pollock, Morris, even Sierralta, three guys who aren't rapid. Sierralta did quite well, I think, against Derby to make the ground back. But the point is, we haven't probably got rapid centre-backs, whereas I think Caben's probably the one who is has top pace. But yeah, in answer to what you were saying, Charlie, I think it just highlighted for me the wing backs and also that front three and how important that striker role is going to be. And hopefully Jefferson can be the man to take us to another level. Sorry, you wanted to do a comparison between us and Xabi Alonso's by
Well, just going on Cleverley's quote, and I actually think he kind of revealed kind of one of his teams that he obviously admires and looks at. And obviously Leverkusen had a historic season last year under Xabi Alonso. Very similar, I think, to Tom Cleverley in kinds of position and being young and ideas. And look, before we go in, and the comments might be going mad, I'm not comparing us to Bayer Leverkusen. We're absolutely miles off it. But when I looked at kind of how they play and how we play, there's so many similarities. Here's just kind of the different players that we've got compared to how they've got. Interestingly, kind of Wirtz and Chatfordazzi, their roles as a 3-10. Deli Bashiro and Saka, and then the wing backs Frimpong and Grimaldo, who got I think Grimaldi got like 23 goals and assists last season. Frimpong got 16. Kind of Trent Alexander Andrew Robertson vibe. And then just go into the kind of wing backs, having a look at how they approach and their position for kind of Frimpong and Grimaldo. Actually, before we go, just a little quiz for the comments and you guys. Which Watford player and which Bayer Leverkusen player had previously played together? So get in the comments and think. I'll go on and afterwards I'll reveal, but you two think as well. But anyway, the wing backs, we could see where the position of kind of Frimpong and Grimaldo really advanced, kind of joining the attacks. And then this was an example of Ryan Andrews' goal. Look at the position of Laruzzi there. Look at Ryan Andrews' position. It falls to him and he scores. So just those wing backs. And I think it's interesting that we brought in Ebisele and we've got Ngakia, but it just highlights how key this position is to Tom Cleverley. And the fact that we've got Ngakia, Ebisele, it's going to be a long season. It fills me with kind of confidence. We could have James Morris, Ken Sema. He's playing for Sweden at the moment. So we've got some good depth there, and I think it's a real key position for us. So they're the wing backs. And the other one I wanted to talk about is this kind of, I don't know, the six or the player who helps in our build-up and kind of what I've done here. I've had a look at Granit Xhaka. He's the one picking it up from the back. He's the one with the intelligence and the kind of awareness. And you can see from this pass, he's going to pass it to Florian Wirtz and kind of start attacks really quickly, passing the ball through the line. We need a player who's really strong. We need a player who's got good awareness, good in tight positions to kind of break through this line. You can see one pass there, and then all these players are out of the game. And our player is Tomdele Bashiru. We've raised about him so much on the channel. And this example was Millwall 8 minutes in. And interesting, like example, Batman rolls it out to Tomdele. He's got a man coming up him. You can see him there, Saville. It's actually a really bad touch from Tomdele, but you can see Saville's on his arse here. But Tomdele kind of uses his strength to get away. Him and Sissoko always close. He knocks it through to Sissoko. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players out of the game. Sissoko passes it on to Chatfadazzi. A better ball from Chatfadazzi, and Gaki is going to put a ball in. And again, look at our position. Our left back's in the box. Andrews is in the box through the wing backs. And we've got kind of our 10 in Kayembe, Bayo, and Georgie joining the attack. So just interesting comparison. And it's something that's encouraging because obviously those guys done amazing last season. They got lauded for their style of play. But I think if that's the inspiration that Tom's picking from, it's going to lead to an exciting season. Obviously, we're not there yet. But if we can get anywhere near what Bayer Leverkusen did last season, it's going to be a fun season for us. But yeah, who's the Watford player, Bayer Leverkusen player who previously played together?
So I'm torn. I've got really recently on my TikTok, I was watching something on Jeremy Frimpong, and he came through at Man City. So I'm thinking either he played with Tomdele Bashiru at Man City, or when he had some time at Celtic, he might have played with Bayo. So it's one of those two. I feel like it could be.
Do you know what, Sam? You probably could be right on both ends, but it was Jeremy Frimpong going through the academy, played with Tomdele. But yeah, I'll have a look. He might have played with Bayo. He might have even had a cross pass with Rocco Vata as well.
That is a cracking pub quiz question. If you're ever in need of a pub quiz master, there's your man. If you ever need of a scout, there's your man. And if you ever need of an analysis man, there's your man. Charlie Zazzera. This is what
well rounded.
Honestly, master of all trades. I was going to I just wanted to touch on two things, Charlie, before I forget. One positive about the system is the flexibility, and we've already seen it this season that Cleverley will move to a back four, which I think is maybe something different to what we saw last season under Val. And I think Charlotte mentioned it in the comment section. We need the system to be flexible enough to adapt to the opposition. One of Ishmael's shortcomings was failure to adapt our style of play to how the opposition sets up. I think that's absolutely spot on. And I've already seen from Cleverley, I think it was in the cup game, wasn't it? Against Plymouth, we moved to a back four. Morris went to left back, and we had a different system, which is something to mention. But yeah, I think that's probably the one thing to mention for me. Sam, anything else you wanted to add on what Charlie said there?
No, I think you're spot on with all of it. I actually feel like it leads quite nicely onto
number 3.
My next thing that I've learned, number 3, which is it's both a positive and a negative at the same time. I'll go with the positive side first. Is that the main thing I've learned is, I know, Jacob, you mentioned how important the fullbacks are. For me, the most important part of this team is the central midfield duo of Tomdele Bashiru and Moussa Sissoko. We mentioned just now how important Tomdele's role is within this team. And I feel like the balance between the two of them is absolutely excellent. And I think they complement each other really, really well. Allow us to sustain attacks, and they're both really important at driving the ball forward for Watford. On the flip side, I think we could end up in a situation where, because of the system, we come a bit over-reliant on the two of them, to the point where if one of them comes out of the team, or if one of them is having an off game, Watford will really struggle. And the example that I'd give is post-Sheffield United. I'm not sure if we spoke about this too much. I thought Sissoko had a really poor game at Bramall Lane. And I think because of that, Tomdele's game suffered as well. And the issue is, it was quite clear, I think Sissoko really needed a rest, or he needed to come off because he just didn't have the legs for the game. But ultimately, I think as good as Ramirez of Spain could potentially go on to be, I think it heavily impacts the balance of the team. We all know I'm not the biggest fan of Imran Louza, who unfortunately is injured at the moment. And we don't know too much about Duomo as well yet. So, yeah, the positive is I think that they've both started the season excellently, Sissoko and Tom Daly. The negative is if one of them has an off day or one of them gets injured, I think Watford could be in trouble.
And I think we also mentioned it, Sam, didn't we, about how when we brought Sissoko in, when we did our reaction video, that we didn't want him to play every single week.
Yeah.
Now, my question to you would be, if that's the case, and I think Sheffield United showed a Sissoko performance, which is pretty leggy, I thought, who would be the man you, if everyone's fit, you'd replace Sissoko with?
It's so difficult to say because I think also you'd have to look at the option of moving Edu Kiembe deeper back into back into midfield. I think Kiembe struggles in a 2 occasionally. I think sometimes he gets slightly overrun. But that would allow us to put in the likes of Quadrabar or Rocco Vata. It's a really difficult one, Jacob. I'm really liking what I hear about Duomo. I haven't watched a minute of him in my life, so I've got no idea how good he could be. But yeah, let's just hope. I mean, this is what I mean, though, in terms of rotating against Manchester City. It's a tall order for Sissoko to play 3 games in a week, particularly at the Etihad. You take one of those out against Man City and we could get completely overrun. So yeah, it's an issue, I think, to be honest with you. And yeah, I think it's going to be one to watch this season. Particularly, the example that I'd also give is we saw, I think, Jake Livermore's season fizzled out towards the end of last season because of, I think an element of that was because of he played so many minutes in that almost December-January period that his legs couldn't take it in the back end of the season. So yeah, just hopefully that doesn't happen with Sissoko.
Is there part of you, Charlie, that would expect the free agents come in? Now, we know we've dabbled with Nkulu in the past. We've dabbled with Carlos Sanchez is probably the nearest example to what situation we face at the moment. Now, I went through the sort of free agent list, and I think I mentioned it, then obviously Capu's the obvious one, but Coquelin was one that people mentioned as a sort of stopgap for this season. Is it the one position that you look at and think, well, you wouldn't surprise us if we dipped into that free agent market?
I think I would be surprised if we did it now while we've got those guys fully fit. I think if one of them gets injured, then they might pull the trigger on one. Yeah, I think it's one of those kind of risk rewards when we're looking at the squad. I think it was quite public that we were trying to go for another centre midfielder to strengthen. Yeah, and I think Sam's got it spot on. At the moment, that's been a really good area, those two playing so close together and playing so well. I think they complement each other and kind of have different strengths. I think Tom Daly, like I said, is dictating play, getting on the ball. And Sissoko's kind of that power and he can drive forward. I mean, they can both drive forward, really. And I think last time we spoke about it, I honestly see kind of Ramirez Espan as the one player who's got the similar attributes to Tom Daly. It's just a massive ask. So could be a problem, but fingers crossed they stay fit. And then maybe in January, it's going to be the first place we look to recruit.
Let us know your thoughts on that one. Who would you bring in a free agent midfielder to fill that gap? Would you do it now? Would you wait for an injury? Not wait for an injury, but if it happens, would you then pull the trigger, as Charlie says? So that's number 3. Sam, so Tom Daly Bashiru duo and as a pair is key for this season, but we might be in trouble if they're tired and need rotation. And on that line, it's my 4th. Welcome to the party for me. First point out the video. The one thing that I've learned this season, lads, is I genuinely believe that the new signings that have come in this summer, and even in January as well, if we bring in a couple, will probably determine how high we can aim as fans and as a club this season. Now, what I mean by that is you've looked at the players that have come in already this season. You look at Kai, Duomo, Caben, Vata, Sissoko playing quite a bit. Ogbonna hasn't played yet. Tikvic maybe less so. Laroussi's obviously been involved gradually. And Jebison is yet to play. Festi Ebasele, another one, and Bond in the Cup. Now, when you go through those, I think the signings that I think will be a massive impact in terms of where we aim this season. Number 1 is Angelo Ogbonna, because I think on paper, he is our most talented centre-back in terms of what he's done in his career, in terms of what he's achieved in his career. But the West Ham fans that I've spoken to have said you need to surround him with pace. Now, thankfully, we brought in Kevin Caben, who is rapid. So I think if you're going to play Angelo Bonner, you play him in the middle, and you have Caben on the left, and you have Pollock on the right, and you rotate him with Porteous as you see fit, as sort of the back three. So we need to see Ogbonna, we need to see Caben. So they're two players to come in that will hopefully have a big impact. Then you throw Ebisele into the mix as well, right wing back. Now, when you compare him, Andrews, and you compare Ebisele, it's fair to say that Ebisele has played at a higher level than Andrews, just so far in terms of because of his age and because of the amount of games he's played as well in Serie A, but also in the Championship. But you've got two players there that have very similar attributes that you can rotate depending on where you see fit. Then Duomo, as Sam mentioned in the previous point, will he hit the ground running? Now, I see him more of a box-to-box midfielder, Charlie, as you say, someone who's going to be in a two, but will take a little bit of time to adapt. But the big one, obviously, is Daniel Jebbison, because if he, again, hits the ground running, and there's a lot of ifs in my point, but I think that probably just sums up my point as well as you can do. It's if, buts, and maybes, really, with the new signings. But if they do go as well as we expect, I generally don't see any reason why Watford can aim higher up the league and be looking upwards rather than maybe floating to a sort of mid-table bottom half finish is what I would say. So we've seen success with Larousse, I think, even though we had a bit of an awkward one at Sheffield United. Sissoko has had a good start to life back at the club, but we've yet to see any of Vata. We've yet to see any of Kai, who are both described as, well, Kai was a longer-term project, Vata a little bit more short-term, I think. But my point is, there's a lot of names there that haven't played a lot of football yet for Watford. And I think the impact of those signings can really determine where we finish this season. So that's one thing I've learned, because I think Cleverley has brought in a style of play. I think he's really brought everyone together in terms of fans, in terms of board, in terms of club. And a lot of people had written us off. And a lot of us were sat here, again, early days, but were sat here thinking, oh, it's going to be a long, long season. And he's brought all of it together, really, Tom Cleverley. And he just think, if a few tweaks here and there in terms of quality in certain positions, and we could have a good one. So that'd probably be mine. That new signings will determine how high Watford can aim this season. Lads, what do you reckon? Anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, I think you're bang on. And like you said, we just don't know. It's really hard to tell how the new guys are gonna bed in. But yeah, I think you're bang on. But Sam, what's your gut? I'd be interested to have some prediction. It'd be like, how are the new signings going to get on? Do you think Ebisele is going to break into the team? Do you think Jebbison's going to get 10, 15 goals?
Yeah, I'm really excited for the Ebisele signing, I must say, first and foremost. Obviously, I passed on that voice note as well from my Derby friend, which was played on the last video, so make sure to check that out. I'm really excited for Ebisele. I think it might be a waiting game for him, though, because of how well Ryan Andrews is doing so far this season. I'd go as far as saying I think it all this season hinges on how well Daniel Jebbison does. Now, that might sound like, it's putting a lot of pressure on him, on ultimately a young player. But if he can hit the ground running and score 15 to 18 goals this season, I think that will shoot Watford right up the league. And while Watford have scored goals so far this season, I think we all know that number 9 position, whether it was Bayo, Rajovic, is the area which is the biggest concern at the moment. So, yeah, I think for me, this season, a lot of it hinges on how well Daniel Jebbison does and if he can stay fit. But
not just Jebbison as well. And like looking at that quote that Clev said about Bayer Leverkusen, and we need to expect more from Georgie Chatvadze. We saw him score for Georgia. I saw Jacob waving the flag yesterday. We saw him score for Georgia, like a great goal. He's going to be in the 10. Kayembe's obviously pitched in with a couple of goals. Ryan Andrews, Larousse. I think that's where Tom's looking. So I don't think we should put pressure or expect Jebbison to be the one to get 20 goals. I do think he's part of the kind of machine in terms of his out of possession strengths. Obviously, he's a striker, but it's not just him, and especially Georgie, who we look at our best player. I think that's one of the reasons Kayembe's in the team, and let's get our fullbacks involved as well. Even Tom Delibashira has got a good strike on him from the defenders as well. So I think that's what Tom's looking to do, and I just hope all the fans and us don't expect Jebbison to be the one who's going to fire us into the playoffs, because I don't think that's the plan.
I totally agree on Chatvadze. I probably need to stop posting about him, to be honest. He's going to follow a restraining order. Look, I think we all know how good he is. but I have been consistent with this. I do think he needs to improve his numbers in open play, particularly. I mean, the fact of the matter, there is an element in terms of he created, I think it was 14 chances against Sheffield United. There was a stat going around which was ridiculous in terms of the amount of opportunities he created, and he didn't have anything to show for it. So there's an element of that in terms of the assist. I think when I talk about his numbers, I think he needs to get more goals to his game track with that, because the amount of positions he gets himself in so far, obviously, we had the worldie at Millwall. But Charlie, you're absolutely spot on there. I think it's a lot of pressure on Jefferson. But I do agree, Sam, that if he delivers, then you're looking at maybe us in the top 10. Genuinely, I think in top 10. Whereas at the minute, I'd say we're probably mid-table. That's how I see us at this moment in time. Let's know what you think. Let's move on to the last point, Charlie, because we're running out of time. Let's do the squad mentality. Is your fifth thing that you've learned this season?
Yeah, and again, Sam hasn't said the intangibles yet, but I wanted to bring that up, and it's just kind of looking at the team and how they've performed and how they've bounced back from kind of adversity. And I think it's just so clear to see that Tom's kind of instilled like a really good culture within the team and really good kind of the way the lads are together. And that was some of the comments we got when we tweeted it out. And again, just a little example kind of as proof, kind of us bouncing back when we conceded goals. Millwall, obviously, 2 late goals, but we got that winner. Oh, it's gone in the wrong way. Shit. Stoke, the same. We kind of bounced back. Do you know what I mean? We were a lot more kind of strong against Stoke. Derby, we conceded late and just pummeled them at the end. And even Sheffield United, where I didn't watch the game properly, but we conceded early. We had a good spell, and we're not folding in games, which last couple of years we've seen us do. And I just think that mentality, that togetherness, that's going to get you like 10 points in a season. And I think it's something that Tom deserves a lot of credit for. And I think that's going to kind of really put us in good stead. So look, like I know Jacob, you're saying we're looking good. We could be mid-table. We've got a really tough run of fixtures coming up now. If we can get those kind of unscathed, I think then we can have a good season. But like let's see how we get on against the teams with some real quality.
No, very true. Very true. Matthew Evans, what a man. Made us wait so long to see a momentum bar. Always, honestly, good things come to those who wait. Charlie Momentum Bar Zazzera back, and he is here. Charlotte Gibson, squad playing for each other, and the boss is such a refreshing change. I love this comment from Ben. And it's just got me thinking, if we played Chakvedati and Loser as the 10s, I think we would create loads of chances. Now, this is one thing that we wanted to put out there on our Twitter at WD18fans. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube as well. We basically put the tweet out. What's one thing that you guys have learned so far this season? Let us know in the comment section below. One that, Sam, I know you wanted to talk about was Edu Kiembe. Now, Robin said, friend of the channel, Kiembe will be the scapegoat this season. I think you get it at every club where there is one player who maybe gets a little bit more criticism, whether it's justified or not, than others. Why did you think this was a good one from Robin?
Yeah, it's an interesting one with Kiembe. I actually think it was a comment that came from former WD18 member Robin. It came under when we put a tweet out about this. I think he's a player who's really splitting opinion at the moment. He's someone who I found a little bit frustrating, particularly against both Derby and Sheffield United. I think ultimately something that I worry could be Cleverley's Achilles heel this season is that he's going to try and shoehorn Kiembe in because of how much he rates him and because of how highly he speaks of him. And almost I don't want him to be, I'm not saying Cleverley would do this, but I just worry that sometimes he's going to be playing Kiembe for the sake of playing Kiembe rather than for the greater good of the team. I'm not sure if that's a bit harsh, but we've seen how Quadro Bar's impressed. Rocco Vata looks raw but really exciting as well. So yeah, I think it's going to be one to keep an eye on this season. Not quite a big enough talking point to make it into our list so far, but I think it's something that's probably got to be addressed. I think Kiembe's performances need to improve. I know he's got the output so far with the goals, but yeah, if he doesn't improve, I think it might be worth a conversation on whether it's time to switch him out.
Couple of things that other people have learned so far this season. Alan Lathwell says unity. When a group of players are pulling in the same direction to achieve a common goal, it's as important, if not more important, than individual talent. Duncan Radband says we have cohesion this season. Hornet Boy says Andrews coming forward looks very dangerous. He's going to get a few more goals for us this year. Jay Watford FC 81 says Morris is good. Hazel Roberts, Watford can surprise you. you always have to expect the unexpected with Watford. Andrew Mitchell, I like this one. He's learned that Bachmann is a decent number one who wins us points, is better than a fair share of championship keepers, and we have to stop getting on his back. I agree in terms of this so far this season. He's made some good saves as well. And also someone said, don't read too much into pre-season. Charlie, anything else you wanted to add before we wrap up today?
No, not really. I mean, it's interesting that comment about Loser playing him as a 10, and it's something that hopefully we'll do this week. But we wanted to do a video picking Watford's best 11, so we'll try and get that in the can this week before the Coventry game. Now the window's shut and we know what we're working with. But no, I think it's a positive start. If you take 9 points out of 12 for the first game, let's take it. But like I said, it is still early doors, and anything can happen in football. And Watford could Watford, but no, I think early signs are really promising, and it's enjoyable. And I'm buzzing to see you guys at Coventry and get back in the Vic, and hopefully we can have a really positive result. Although Coventry are a pretty good team.
Watford can Watford. That might be the title of the video. The other thing to mention about Imran Loser was he played as a number 10 for Morocco, so that might just be one to throw out there at some point this season. Sam, final thoughts? Oh, Charlie, yeah. Charlie, he's gone. Got it.
Just on the Kayembe bit. Did you see his goal for Congo?
No.
It's lovely. Oh, unreal. Unbelievable goal for Morocco. For Congo. Yeah, great goal. Yeah, on the left foot. Please don't try.
Well, that's the evening sorted for me. I'll be watching that. Sam, any final thoughts?
Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to getting back into it. I'm looking forward to the Coventry game. A really, really big test for Watford. I really like the work that Mark Robbins has done there over the years. I think they've had a bit of a slow start this season, but I think they do just generally tend to be slow starters. So yeah, buzzing to be back at the Vic on Saturday.
Huge shout out to everyone who watched live today. And if you're listening to this on audio, make sure to leave us a review as well. It does really mean a lot. Leave a like on the video, subscribe to WD18, follow Sam, Charlie, and myself on our social channels, and WD18 at WD18 Fans. As Charlie mentioned just there, we'll have a video in the week coming up about Watford's best 11 with everyone available. So let us know who you think in the comment section below, and we'll have that ahead of Coventry next week. Have a great rest of your week, guys. A huge shout out lastly. There was one comment, I must just say, from NRT Sports. Watching you guys from Paphos in Cyprus this evening, where it's 9 out here. NRT, you are the man. But wherever you're watching, thanks so much. And we will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. And up the Hornets. You want.